maybe policies to see is that even at nomination, there is no violence. People are given an opportunity to compete on the ideology and policies and issue. Not who is stronger now, who can hire more goons, who can buy more changa, who has more money. No, that is not what makes leadership.
Florence, I think you've delivered your point fair enough. Now, Florence, let me get this clear. This might sound like an ignorant question. Are you linking good governance directly with women who are in leadership? Does it necessarily mean that if women are in leadership, then naturally good governance is there?
I'd like to see more women so we can do comparisons. If we had more women in leadership, we would be able to see. Right now we're talking, if we just talk governors only, we'll be talking 3 out of what? 3 out of 44. So 44 and 3 really we can't compare. If we had 20 and 24 or 20 and, you know, like almost half and half.
Rwanda, let's go continental,
Yes.
not narrow down in Kenya alone. Rwanda has about 63.2%
Yes.
women leadership
Yes.
in that country.
Yes.
Does it mean necessarily that, you know, things are perfect there?
We're not saying they're perfect.
Because they have democracy issues.
Yes, but the democracy issue, we don't want to go there. We know where it's coming from. But what we see in Rwanda, developing economically, growing, you know, empowerment of, you can imagine how many young girls who are seeing the leaders up there, feeling and doing in schools and doing much better than those of us who have no role models to look up to right now. So 3 for me, we cannot compare. When we get to 20, we will compare women leaders. Yes, because then we'll have a half.
Justin, apparently, let me just go back to the research I was telling you about. And apparently, Africa's chance of an elected female president only came in the year 2006 through Salif Ellen Johnson, who contested in the presidential election. And of course, she won. In 2015, apparently, Mauritius also had its first elected female president. I mean, why did Africa have to wait up until 2006?
I think culturally, and I don't even think it's a cultural thing. During the colonial times, and as we evolved into a society, there was a lot of emphasis put on the importance of the boy child, patriarchy. And the girl child was seen as someone who will leave the family and go get married. And these are cross-border in Africa. It's not just a Kenyan problem. But evolving from that, and you know, statistics have shown that where women have been allowed to take leadership, things are progressed. The reason why we talk about gender inclusion is because the way we are physiologically made, we are made differently. And therefore, we're supposed to bring different things to the table. And if we bring those different things, there is, you know, a balance of ideas. And that makes, you know, issues move faster. The way you see this glass and the way I see this glass are 2 different things, because we are structured, even our DNA structures is different. But if 50 years after we have become self-independent and after we've taken the girl child on equal basis to school, we're not seeing the value of that girl child. And not because we're saying suppress the boy child. We're saying give the girl child.
Actually, that is the conversation out there right now.
An equal opportunity. No. Give the girl child an equal opportunity to also show that she's able to lead. And I've just given you a chance. I wanted to do a research on the banking sector.
Yes.
Because when I became a lawyer a few years back, there were more male bank managers as opposed to today. Today, most banks and successful banks have invested in women managers. Why? Ask yourself. Why can't they, when we do the same for our country, and give leadership at the top to women? If you look at the things that, for instance, Sarah Serem put together at SRC, 1 minute she's out, it's being eroded in a day. It's not because Sarah Serem wants the MPs or the people in public service to have less money, but she's just being cautious. This wastage is costing development in other areas. And therefore she put in measures that was going to benefit the country as a whole. But the people who are now eroding this are looking at me, not looking at what is the impact of that me culture, which has existed in this country for all the years we've been self-independent to date. Where are we now? Why are we buying food in 2017?
Yeah, we're going to talk about the future of African women leadership. Of course, the future of women leadership in the continent. But again, research indicate that, you know, women are not taken seriously by men who believe that, women are less competent than their male counterparts. And these are some of the, obstacles perhaps for women out there, because it seems women have to work double compared to their male counterparts in order to succeed.
It's true, women have to work double to just get to certain places. If we even just take do a statistical research on in terms of just salaries in the same positions, even in just in this country and around the world, you will find the same job I can do and somebody else can do, and we are equally educated and everything get qualified. Maybe I can even do it better. You'll find a woman getting less. So the fact that we are not valued in the marketplace and in the political scene, it finds that when we go for elective posts, even the Mwananchi down there thinks, no, I'll elect a woman, she'll get pregnant, so she won't come to work. Those all manner of, myths that for me do not stop a woman from doing her duty. Because if we can carry a home and run a home, what is so difficult in terms of just leading a community or leading a constituency?
Yes. Yeah. And apparently we're supposed to wrap up. We have a few minutes left. Josephine, let me be generous with you first. Yes. And can you perhaps tell us, how does the future of women leadership in Africa look like for you? Now, I think at this moment we have only about, is it one African leader is a woman?
Yes, one president.
Yes.
We have a vice president,
left.
Salif has retired, but I see a great
bearing
future.
in mind Kenya's women candidate, who, the likes of Martha Karua, Charity Ngilu, they all perform dismally when it comes to
I just say, I equate it first of all to patriarchy. And we must, destroy the structures of patriarchy. Because until you destroy the structures of patriarchy, where in the rest of the world where they have done away with those, there are what I would call in trade, international trade, non-tariff barriers, There are barriers, but you cannot see them. Then we will get good leadership. If we get women to the top and we allow a good number of them to come to the top, we will see a change in the way this country is led. For me, I see a great future. When I talk to the younger generation, and especially now, because they don't see the struggle from where the Fibia CEOs, the, Nyiva Mwendwas, where they started.
Yes.
They see an opportunity where they are able to go to school, become rocket scientists, become doctors. I mean, a few years back, the only careers that were reserved for women was nursing and teaching. That was the highest you rose to. Now we have women lawyers, women doctors, women aeronautical engineers. Of course, as time comes by, they will offer themselves. Actually,
sorry to cut you short, we also have a lady representing Kenya in the Winter Olympics.
Yes. I saw that. And what we are seeing is an increased capacity by women to grab the opportunity.
Yes.
And I keep telling my male counterparts this, there will come a time when the Kenyan men will want that two-thirds gender rule to be a reality. And I'll give you an example. In October, I was in Norway, and I met a member of parliament. And she told us they have a 40% rule, where they must have either gender in public spaces, committees. But they would like to go to parliament and get it removed because they don't have enough men offering themselves, and therefore a lot of community things and public spaces are not being filled or they're not being operationalized because of that.
Yes.
For me, I see a generation of women coming, go-getter, ready to take the bull by the horns. And I'll just give you an example of the current LSK elections that are in Kenya. Although we had one woman candidate who withdrew, we have 19 women competing for the same space with 21 men. Next time, we probably have 37 women and 7 men.
Florence, as you make your final comment, thank you for that. And why does it sound like there's a sort of a competition between men and women? Because women leadership is not just about women, right? It's about the entire country or a continent, because women are like some sort of a pillar of a family. So do you think women should package their way differently when approaching the men folk when it comes to, especially the two-third gender rule, for example?
No, I think men should change their mindset. It's not about women packaging themselves.
Yes.
I think we've been on this road before, or maybe we should have talked this way, maybe we should have said this way. No.
Yes.
It is provided for in the Constitution. We expect it to be done at least as per the Constitution. And like she says, there'll be one day when you'll find there are more women leaders and less male leaders. And the same things we are asking for will definitely benefit the men when that time comes. But as part of my closing remarks, for us to see a future where African women leaders are where we have more African women leaders, these women and girls need to be safe.
Yes.
At the moment, we have challenges, or even during the election period, where women have violated, you remember Millie Odhiambo and the rest who went through a lot of violence. But also I have seen that even for the girl child to just come up to where she is, she has to surmount a lot of challenges. And the one that is really that bothers me a lot is sexual violence, which has continued to permeate in our society. And for me, I want to see a future where we have shelters, where we have protections, where we have structures that protect women or the most vulnerable in our society, given the statistics that we have on sexual violence. Once that is done, I think it will also benefit the men. Yes.
Florence, thanks a lot for your input. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. Florence Mashwe is the Program Manager, Equality Now, as well as Josephine Mongare, who's the FIDA Kenya Chairperson. I'm sure the women folk who are watching, you've given them some sort of very good Valentine's present.
Yes,
and, we want them, when they happen, we want them actualized.
Yeah. I would like to see, I don't know whether we still have a minute.
Let me give you a minute.
Okay. I would like us to look at it from a fairly different angle.
Yes.
The family unit as the man and the woman. And for that unit to continue to exist, both have their roles to play. Let us not forget that house, when the mother is not there, things don't function. If you exclude that woman, things don't function. And therefore, for us, even at FIDA, we are looking at things from a totally different angle. We would like to have families that are together. And as we do that, because we know the government structure starts from the family structure, so that when those families are strong and they are together, then both men and women play their different roles, complement each other, and we have a better, a developed country.
Well said,
yes.
Josephine. We're out of time, unfortunately.
So we hope you have some flowers before we leave.
Yes, well, we have a red carpet, we have a red studio. Anyway, thanks a lot
for having
your
us. Thank you.
And that has been our interview tonight on Bottom Line Africa. Once again, let me revisit our earlier breaking story we had for you, and reports that from South Africa that, Zimbabwe's opposition leader, Morgan Tsvangirai, is dead. Until his death, of course, he was the MDC leader. And apparently, before his death, he was critically ill in a hospital in South Africa. He has been Robert Mugabe's long-time adversary, and many expected him to contest against the current ZANU-PF leader, Emmerson Mnangagwa. Of course, he's been the leader of Movement for Democratic Change, MDC. Mr. Tsvangirai is 65 until his death. He was a former Zimbabwean prime minister and has been receiving treatment since June last year in Johannesburg, in South Africa. Of course, still we're getting scanty information, but we're going to piece together crucial information from there, and definitely we're going to bring it to you once we have them.